Well, ladies and gentlemen, delegates, let's now welcome Dr. Achieng Ojwang, Executive Director of the United Nations Global Compact Network South Africa. Her transformative leadership has revitalized the network, making strides not just in sustainability, but social justice as well. With over 20 years of experience, her insights promise to inspire us all. She'll be joining us virtually, so for her address, please keep your eyes on the screens.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Ralph Fletcher, the CEO of Comedia, for inviting me to deliver this keynote address, and indeed for inviting us as the Global Compact Network South Africa to partner this conference. The UN Global Compact is a call to business everywhere to integrate a set of ESG principles. We call them the 10 principles on human rights, on labor protection, on the environment, on anti-corruption into their business strategies. And secondly, to take action, positive action in society through sustainable development. At the moment, we have over 24,000 companies who have made this commitment publicly, globally. And in South Africa, we have just over 100 companies participating. I will come back to this point of participation later on in my speech. But at the moment, I want to say a few words. It is no longer a question of whether business has a role in sustainable development. In a country like South Africa, where the inequality gap is still very wide, and where we have high levels of unemployment, in a world grappling with climate change and needing to transform consumption and production patterns, business must be involved and business must act. When I look back to just before 2007, 2008, financial crash, whenever we ask business to take ESG into consideration, the first question they asked us was, why should we do this? After the financial crash and the governance lessons that came with that, many businesses, many companies began asking how they could integrate ESG more effectively. Fast forward to 2020 with the pandemic and new or renewed conflicts in many regions of the world. With this setback as business, we must reframe the question, how do we scale and accelerate our collective impact, both at the national level, the regional or continental level, and how is our impact contributing to the global collective impact? These are questions that we must ask at the moment. This approach speaks to our interconnectedness as a global village, where climate inaction elsewhere, or the war in Ukraine or Palestine, or in the Congo or in Sudan, can indeed impact our own progress here in South Africa. Because of the UN Global Compact, we are concerned with how we guide companies to drive sustainability impact. I will give some data and insights onto how we are doing on some of these ESG and SDG considerations. The 17th SDGs was set to be achieved by 2030. Many of us know that we are about only 15% of success on the SDGs, with only 6 years to go till the deadline of 2030. The big question then becomes, how do we catch up? We have put out a campaign called the Forward Faster campaign. This global campaign is supported by a set of guidance for business. It involves a review of key issue areas, identifying issues within the SDGs where we think business can scale their impact much faster. These are the areas where we think that in the short term to 2030, we can have a multiplier effect in the rest of the SDGs as well. If business just focus on them a lot more actively. The 5 areas are in gender equality, the living wage, climate action, water resilience, and sustainable investments. We believe that business can indeed drive greater impact because they have a lot of influence on these 5 areas. If we just take the example of the first one I talked about, gender equality, this is within the business sphere change, and they can do it with the right level of commitment and integration in the business. If you could go to our website, or you could just Google the Forward Faster campaign, you will have access to the platform and available guidance that can help you to understand how to accelerate impact on these areas. The second thing I'd like to talk about is an exercise we have done here in South Africa, the UN Global Compact, called the Private Sector Voluntary National Review on the SDGs. This is a partnership between ourselves and the government, because South Africa has to periodically, through the national government, go back to the UN member states to brief them on how we have performed so far on the SDGs. It's part of the peer review mechanism that countries had agreed to way back in 2015 at the launch of the SDGs. So we have a draft private sector. The official report will come out in the next month or so. But I wanted to just pick from that report and give you some insights onto the actions of business when it comes to sustainable development goals. This report has looked at individual company priorities and actions, and we have over 70 companies working with us by giving us some case studies. The report also looks at industry or sectors and how they are reporting on their ESG and SDG priorities. Thirdly, the report identifies gaps or key areas where there is slow progress or challenges, and also gives a set of policy recommendations. So it provides for a great engagement platform between business and government as well, on which policy direction we should take on specific SDGs. The report is in draft form, but I wanted to just take a moment and give you some insight. And to backtrack a bit, in 2019, we did this peer review for the first time, the VNR. And when we surveyed the private sector back then, they looked at their top SDG for priorities. And they said that they would have the greatest influence and impact on SDG 8. SDG 8 is decent work and economic growth. I'm reporting that in 2024, the private sector broadly still has prioritized SDG 8, their priority SDG in South Africa. In 2019, number 2 of priority was business efforts in supporting education. I can report that in 2024, there's been a shift, and a very significant shift. And at number 2 is SDG 13 on climate action, pushing SDG 4 on education down to number 6. In 2024, the private sector has prioritized SDG 17 on partnership, which number 3, really bringing that all the way down from number 11 in 2019. I think signaling the acknowledgement within business that we must work with others. We can only achieve greater impact if we are collaborating with other businesses, with government, with civil society, with the UN, and with other stakeholders. At number 4 is SDG 3 on health. And this shift from 2019 was sitting at number 4. It is now at number 3. So just one step back in terms of what business understands as its most urgent SDGs where they need to take action. And this is spurred, of course, by the pandemic. And at number 5, surprisingly, SDG 11 on sustainable cities and communities, shifting to number 5 from number 8 in 2019 to number 5 in 2024. So I can tell you that these are the 5 SDG areas where we will see business in the short term putting a lot of attention, putting a lot of investment based on what they've told us in this report. So the good news is that business is committed to contributing and prioritizing and integrating these sustainability considerations and acknowledging that the big impact that we see will only come through strategic action and inclusive collaboration. I think it's a very powerful signal that we're getting from business. Challenges do remain, and they hit often, but we need to keep our eyes on the key priorities, even as we adjust for shocks, like we adjusted for the pandemic. My second call to action is for many companies as possible to join us, the UN Global Compact, so we can support you in applying principle-based approach to sustainability. Your engagement in the Global Compact also serves in influencing other companies to engage in responsible business practices. It is a leadership opportunity and a great platform for peer learning at the local, regional, and at the global levels. With those few remarks, I'd like to just thank you once again for engaging. It is so engaging that we get to learn, to understand new perspectives, to get ideas on how we can innovate on sustainability going forward. So thank you very much, and I hope that you are able to enjoy this particular conference.